All right, so welcome you guys to Dining with Diabetes. So this is the third class, and so I apologize for all the people who are going to come in person and ended up not being able to. I just found out yesterday, but like you guys might have known, the COVID rate is just rising a little bit, so we're just going to watch it from there. Then, okay, and that's a good point. Thank you. I'll try to watch the chat. There is. I'm just going to mute everybody while I talk, and then we'll try to open it up at the end if that's okay with everybody. Okay. Thank you guys. All right, so we're just gonna start out today with a quick food demo because we're doing chicken parmesan. So we have to get that going first. So thank you guys all for bearing with me. And so just gonna whip on the apron here. And so we got this great island with a grant. So this is the perfect time to use it. Maybe not. So that'll be good. All right, so we got a hand sanitizer. And so first thing, what I'm gonna do is spray the pan. So we have the oven set at 450 here. All right. So okay, so the first thing, I just bought chicken tenders, right? So there's only 0.5 grams of fat in 3-ounce serving, which is really low in fat. So we're going to talk about today is saturated fat and things like that. So this obviously would be a really good choice. So I have chicken tenders, just got them at Walmart, and then as you can see, just put on 1/4 cup of the plain yogurt. Okay, so this is that. So Caleb, if you want to tilt it up a little bit, that would be great. Thank you. Caleb's helping me with the camera. So we just have the plain yogurt. That's just what I got, the basic one, not Greek. And just put on a 1/4 cup. So that is half of this, what you see here. And it kind of, managed to go all over it pretty well. So what we're gonna add then for our dry, like the Parmesan crust part, would be the breadcrumbs. So we have, to review, we have 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. So here we go on that. Then we have Parmesan cheese, flour, paprika, cayenne pepper, and then we have the cooking spray on the sheet there. So we'll add these in there. So that's all we have with that. And then I emailed that recipe to you guys. So good. You tilt it up just a little bit. You love that. Thank you. All right, so here's our crust. So I just use Italian breadcrumbs, but you could use whatever you like. Panko would probably work really well too. All right, so we have that. And what I'm gonna do quickly then is take these, so they're coated in the yogurt, and then we'll put them in here. So the yogurt would add additional protein on there, whereas good thing, you kind of see, we're just gonna lay it on a cookie sheet here. Just like that. So it's kind of cool. I don't know if you can see it very well. Try to get it closer. Well, get closer to me. There you go. Can you guys see? It's hard. I have to get you think you'd be up for finishing these? Yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do then is we have them coated, and Caleb said he'll come and do the rest for me while I do the presentation, but they're gonna go in the oven then for 15 minutes at 450. So thank you for that. All right. All right, let me share my screen quick and we'll get the presentation going. All right, thank you guys all for bearing with me here. So what we have today, just like what we said, is the Dining with Diabetes class. So today we're talking about fats and sodium. So let me know if you can't see the screen okay. I'm doing my best here, but okay. So just to get started then, we have, okay. So this is the third class of 4. So we only have one more week left. And so after that, we're going to do one more class, putting it all together, and then we'll end up doing the 3-month follow-up. So I don't know if you guys have it on your calendar. I emailed it, but write it down for November 16th at the same time, and it should also be a Tuesday. And we will do the follow-up class then. So what I'll have next week then is, you know, I just have, there's technology things here. Okay, so just, I wanted to ask you guys, if you don't mind putting in the chat, just, did you guys notice anything from last week that you did differently? I didn't know if anybody had an experience like that. Anybody do anything differently? Nope. Okay, so one thing, I guess, just then to try to start making changes, or just to be even aware, would be a good thing. Thanks, Rosa, she saved me. Yeah, so eating more vegetables, started measuring out some items just to see as an estimate. That's good, less carbs, right? So that can be especially beneficial if you're not in good blood glucose range, and it can help you a little bit just to choose a little less of the carbohydrates. So just to remind everyone, like, can you guys name, so will you name, sweet potato is not a bad weakness to have. Okay, and she says portion control also. So can you guys name a non-starchy vegetable? So this is a vegetable that wouldn't raise your blood sugar very much. Can you name one of those? Broccoli? Yeah. Broccoli's a winner. Green beans? Yep, good job on that. Peppers? Green beans? So what else, you guys? What else other than spinach, right? So any of the green leafy things, those would be non-starchy. Cauliflower, so any of those things in the head, so like cabbage, Brussels sprouts, right? Things like that. And the broccoli. Thanks for being here. Yeah, avocados, they're actually, would you believe they're actually a fruit? So they're the fruit that's highest in fat, but it's actually really good for us. So spinach, kale, lettuce, yep. And then, so don't forget, like, the non-starchy ones that wouldn't raise your blood sugar very much would be also like tomatoes, eggplant, mushrooms, celery. So we have celery and green pepper in a recipe that we're having today. Yeah, so corn is definitely, it's good for you. They actually found that there's with the yellow in the corn, and it helps with your eyes. So it's like has that lutein that your eyes are looking for to prevent macular degeneration. So even though corn is a starchy one, you can still include that, and that would be a really good starch to have. Okay, so let me think if there's other ones. I know onions, right? What have we not said with vegetables? There are so many. I could go like thinking of them. Yeah, so the leafy things, just the ones you have to worry about what that could increase your blood sugar more, would be the corn, the green peas, and then any sort of beans. So except the green beans, so like the dry beans, and potatoes. So you might have known that one also. Okay, so yeah, they said, Pat says Brussels sprouts, edamame. So edamame is mostly protein and healthy fat, but it could increase your blood sugar a little bit. It does have some carbs. It's kind of that perfect all around food. It has everything. Yes, a little high in carbs, but it has protein. What would be good for those iron levels? So that would be like the Swiss chard, bok choy. If you're going with green leafy vegetables, that would be those. Spinach, it does have calcium, but it has inhibitors that helps us not be able to absorb it as well. So the other kind of green leafy beans, like collards, that's what I'm thinking of. Collards and mustard greens have a lot of calcium, and iron. Sorry. She's like, I'm asking about iron. Okay. I wish you guys were here in person. Then you could just be like, Andrea. All right. So meal planning then, what I found is the most helpful just for people I've worked with is often the plate on the left, just because it's simple. And if you kind of make your plate similar to that, so you have the vegetables, the non-starchy ones that we just talked about on half the plate, then you can fill up the other half of the plate with some protein. So maybe like the chicken Parmesan that we're making, and then a starch. So a part of your starch would be that breading on that chicken, and then a milk. So just thinking about that, the things that would raise your blood sugar on that plate then would be the milk, the starch, and then also the fruit. And so sometimes like maybe you want to save your fruit for a snack or something like that, so maybe just take that off of the meal and save that for a different time then, or for later in the day, or you could do that with yogurt for the milk. And the idea would be to get a variety of foods, and that's why they have the milk and the starch and the fruit there. But what you could do is kind of what we talked about last week, is you could end up having maybe 3 starches and then forget about the milk and forget about the fruit for that meal. So if there's a time when you really want to do that, maybe you go to Olive Garden and you just love spaghetti. So 1/3 cup of spaghetti is equal to 1 starch. So if you want to have a cup of spaghetti, you want to have a little bit more, maybe then you would not have other things that would raise your blood glucose as much. That's the same thing for if you want to include dessert then. So if it has extra sugar in it, like a yogurt that's not plain would have more carbs. And so that would just be something to keep in mind. Maybe you have to go less on the other stuff. So thank you guys. Okay. So just what we talked about kind of in the first class, then remembering that it can affect all different parts of the body. So, right. So if you want breadsticks, Steve, right, you can have those in place of, I think I looked up once, they count as 2 pieces, 2 bread servings, but that'd be interesting to check. But you could include those, and you just have to do the chicken and asparagus or something. So it affects all parts of your body then. If you have high blood sugar, it affects your eyes, your feet, and then just like your heart, because you kind of think of it like the blood, it's sticky, when it gets a lot of blood sugar in there. So if you would have uncontrolled diabetes, or if you have a really high blood sugars a lot, that can cause havoc on a bunch of your organs and also on your feet and things like that. So I guess really trying to keep that down then is very important. So here, like what we're just talking about, that is the cholesterol. So if a person has too much cholesterol in the bloodstream, the excess may be deposited in the arteries. And then like the coronary arteries of the heart, the ones that go to the brain, and then the arteries that supply the legs and things like that. And it can form a plaque that causes the narrowing of the arteries there. And so just, anybody can have that. But if you have diabetes then, and you have like a high blood sugar level, or your A1C is high, then it's going to be even harder for that blood to run through that, because now we have narrowed, and then it's sticky. So it's really important for people with diabetes, especially, to really kind of watch that, because most people who have diabetes, they don't die of diabetes, they die of heart disease, because it's like these other things are happening first. So just, I guess, imagining like sticky blood trying to move through like a narrow artery, it can lead to disaster, I guess. So people who have diabetes are actually 2 to 4 times greater risk of having a heart attack and a stroke than people without diabetes. So just, I guess that's why listening to this, can help you. So I'm glad you're here. So just thinking about saturated fat then. So you might think, how sometimes the label used to have cholesterol on there, and you might know like, oh, and eggs have cholesterol, or shrimp have cholesterol. So cholesterol only comes from animal foods. And the thing that raises your cholesterol the most is not actually the cholesterol itself, but it's the saturated fat, which is kind of confusing, I think. But if you think about, so if you look on the labels then and you see saturated fat, that is the thing that actually causes increased cholesterol in your body. And so the things that have saturated fat would be the ones just, would want to have a little bit less often. So there's meats, like the high fat meats would be something maybe if we can like trim down on those. high fat dairy products. So that would be like choosing part skim mozzarella cheese instead of the regular cheddar all the time. And then eggs do have cholesterol and saturated fat too. They've kind of gone in the history just from having, you know, kind of like don't eat eggs to eggs are the best. And so I would say, you know, if you do have heart problems, try to limit it to like one a day is what they found can be, you know, a healthy part of a diet. But just after that, if you have heart problems, maybe kind of go easy on the eggs. You know, they're a great form of protein and they're inexpensive. So, and trans fats, luckily they outlawed those because they're so bad for us. So if you see anything that says partially hydrogenated, then you know it has some trans fats. And what they've had to do then is at least the food industry has to eliminate all that you can, I know for sure all that could be picked up by like a nutrition reading. So they're not allowed to have saturated fat in anything anymore. So it's really, I mean, that's a good win for us because that'll help keep us well. Okay, so then just thinking about what do you want to eat then? Like, you know, instead of some of those higher fat meats and things like that, even cheese. So just trying to think, you know, if your salad or if you want stuff on it, maybe you could choose like some nuts or seeds on your salad or even the avocado that you guys were talking about. Like those are sources of really good healthy fats. So the idea would be to replace saturated fats with these better fats. So we used to think, you know, all fat, we used to be saying, you know, low fat everything is what we're going for. But now we realize that there are fats that are really good for us. And so they're the mono unsaturated fats and then the poly unsaturated fats. So they can actually help lower the cholesterol, which is kind of cool. So that would be like olive oil, canola oil, certain nuts, like, and then that almonds, walnuts, peanuts, they're really, you know, they're good for you. They have that good fat. And so these would be things to use more in place of the other one. So like maybe some swaps could be, you know, the oil instead of the butter. And maybe like, you know, trying to think about when you could use nuts instead of cheese. Have you guys heard about cashew cheese? Has anyone heard about that? You can actually make cheese like, you know, not obviously real cheese, but out of cashews. So it's kind of cool. You add nutrition yeast, if anybody's done that. It's kind of a fun idea to use to make cheese. Okay, so here, this is kind of interesting just to kind of show, you know, the heart healthy choices, just sticking with like the more oils instead of the solid fats. Because just if you think about saturated fats are solid at room temperature because they're kind of saturated, right? So if you think about like butter and lard and, you know, bacon grease and olive oil and coconut oil, if you look at like the ones that are solid at room temperature, those would be the ones that have more saturated fat. So just what we have know from the research so far that it can increase your risk of heart disease and that higher cholesterol. So that's why just trying to cut back on those and use oils when you can, or those avocados and nuts and fatty fish have the healthy fats also. They can really help you guys a lot. You know, that would be really good. I should make cashew cheese next time, you guys. I wish you guys could taste these things. Okay, so then just remembering then that like we're saying, you know, fats are good for you, but just remember that, so there's 4 calories in every gram of carbohydrate or protein. So if you see 1 gram on the label of carbohydrate or protein, you know that it has 4 calories. So you can multiply it and kind of figure out how many calories are in the thing. But fat has 9. So it has 9 calories for every gram. So it just kind of goes up a lot quicker than the other 2. So that's just something to keep in mind, you know, even though it's really good for your heart, sometimes that can add a lot. So, yeah. And so then labeling, focusing on the label then. So hopefully we don't have to worry about trans fats anymore, but just kind of looking at the saturated fat. And this is one of the things I think it's really helpful when you're comparing items. I've done a grocery store tour a couple of times and taken people into the ice cream section. And it's just really fun to see because, you know, saturated fat, it's higher in things with the full fat dairy products. And yeah, so then excuse me. So then when you're looking at different things, it's interesting, you know, like those fudge sickles with a chocolate in the inside and then a chocolate outside, you know, it's just all that chocolate. So there's a lot more saturated fat and fat that are in the ones with the chocolate coating with the white vanilla ice cream center. So it's just interesting, you know, if you start looking at labels, you can compare things, and maybe it doesn't matter to you which one you have, and then maybe you could just choose the chocolate one, you know, if they're both equal to you. So really looking at the label, especially things like that, and then in like soups or in frozen dinners or in pizzas can be really helpful. So kind of looking at that saturated fat just to keep your heart in good order. Okay, so some other options to use instead of fat, you know, just in case like you want to cut back on the butter or things like that, you can use applesauce and fruit purees for some of the fat in the recipes. I've done that a lot. It works really well in quick breads, kind of where you have something moist already. So like if you're making banana bread, you could actually just add more bananas for part of the oil or part of the butter. And then just replacing, you know, half of the total fat or so. I have done it replacing the whole thing, and, you know, it doesn't always have the same results that you might want. So yeah, just thinking about that and using oil instead of butter, and then using herbs and spices. And then if you're using fresh herbs, you just want to triple the amount, because when they're dried, it's condensed down. So we have kind of an example of that with the other recipe that we're making today. So how to modify a recipe. So if you look at a recipe, right, you might have some that are kind of your favorites from growing up or your mom's recipe, and maybe, you know, maybe it's not the best for you, but you can take that kind of recipe and modify it and switch some things up. And maybe you just choose one thing each time, but you can switch it up and then really help increase the health of the dish. So if this was a recipe that your mom happened to have, it's pasta with tuna and tomato sauce. Can you guys give me some ideas of what you would replace or how you would swap it? What you would switch to maybe make it a little bit healthier for you? Do you have any ideas? Whole wheat pasta? Yep, that would be an excellent one. So instead of the corn pasta, maybe choosing whole wheat. So they might have the same amount of carbohydrates, but that whole wheat would have more fiber, so it wouldn't take your blood sugar as high. Right, yeah, oil, we use water-packed tuna. That would eliminate a lot right there, a lot of calories. You could use tofu instead of tuna. Yep, he's got that. That would, yeah, soybean. So tofu comes from soybeans, and they have a really healthy fat. They're complete protein also. Skim milk ricotta, yeah, good job, you guys. So using skim ricotta, and then maybe even I would say reducing the butter, or trying to use, yeah, trying to use a little bit less butter, maybe cutting it in half and seeing if, you know, it still has that creaminess that you're looking for. You know, if it's enough, you know, that's great. And then, yeah, Mrs. Dash, good job, you guys. It's really good. So just trying to look at a recipe like that, you guys can do that, you know, just take it and then focus on each ingredient and just see, you know, is there something that I wouldn't mind better for me? You know, maybe it has white rice, maybe you like quinoa. So maybe you're going to swap that, because quinoa is a whole grain. It has fiber and protein. So things like that. Then sodium in the diet, that's just important also. So it smells really good in here, you guys. It smells like chicken. Yeah, okay. So just focusing on the sodium then, what you can do with the label. So we might have talked about this either the first or the second week, but if you look on the far right, you can see the percent on the label. So like you see total fat there, it says 18, 15, and then there goes 10, 20, 10, 12. On the right side, those percents. So you know you can always look at a label. You first want to look at the serving size. So this would be one muffin is a serving, and then 2 servings in the container. So you know if you eat 2 of the muffins, then you have to multiply everything times 2. But if I just eat 1, then this label shows me the nutrition that I'm getting from it. And so I can look at the sodium, which is under cholesterol. If you guys see it there, it's in bold. It says 470 milligrams. And so I don't know about you, but just for me, that's hard to like, is that high or low? I don't really have any idea. So then you can look at that percent on the right side, and you know that if the percent is 20% or more, it's considered high. And then if it's 5% or less, it's considered low. So you know how you sometimes see on a label, it says like high in vitamin A or something like that. That means it has to have 20% or more. It's kind of cool, like, because by law, they have to do that. So if it says like low in sodium, then you know it's 5% or less. But you can look at it yourself and just kind of cheat. So this is actually high in calcium. this muffin, and also high in sodium. It's kind of high in fat too. And the saturated fat, it's kind of getting high too. So maybe it would be something not to choose that often, but it does have some fiber. And so that would be a good good thing for it. The total carbohydrate, that would be 31 grams. Do you see that? So that's equal. So 15 grams. I don't know if you guys saw the handouts that I sent, but 15 grams is equal to 1 slice of bread. And so that's also equal to 1 carbohydrate exchange. So if you had one of these muffins, it'd be similar in your body to having 2 slices of bread. This kind of gives you an idea, I guess. Yeah. Sorry, I was just looking at that chat. Okay, and then just be aware then of salt substitutes. So this is something Caleb talked about a little bit last time, just that they can contain potassium chloride. And so if you're on different heart medicines, or if you have kidney problems, that would just something to check with your doctor to make sure they shouldn't adjust the medicine that you're eating. Sorry, just reading Yvonne's comment about eating half the muffin. Yeah, so right, it's great for sharing with friends. Or just that would be, just knowing that would be 2 of your exchanges for that meal. Okay, so just out of curiosity, you guys, you want to take a quick guess here. Which food do you think has the most sodium? So there's either 1 cup of cornflake cereal, chocolate pudding snack, or 1/4 cup roasted salted peanuts. So Yvonne is saying the cereal. Anybody have any other guesses? Peanuts. Caleb, which one do you think? Do you think 1 cup of cornflakes, chocolate pudding, or 1/4 cup roasted salted peanuts? Which one do you think has the most sodium? Peanuts. Okay, he's going with peanuts. Peanuts seems too obvious. Going with the pudding. All right, so here's what we got. And so this is not to point out that cornflakes are necessarily bad for you or like the worst thing, but just knowing then that I guess sodium can hide in stuff that you might not expect. So just kind of looking at that label can be the thing that will help you the most with that. So all of you who guessed cereal, Yvonne, good job. Yeah, and I know, isn't it interesting? Like sometimes you would think like, oh, chips do or something like that, and actually a piece of bread might have more sodium. Raisin Bran, that one I've noticed is really high in sodium. I'm not sure if they put that with the raisins or what, but just sometimes watching that kind of stuff, it's just interesting, right? So once you check one thing, you kind of get a trend and know which things you kind of have to watch for, but that's just something to be aware of. So then spices and herbs, they can really help, right? So that you can use them instead of the salt, and sometimes you can get away with using that a lot. Salt does have a role, it can help make bitter tastes like kind of go down a little bit so you can enjoy them more, and it enhances the sweetness sometimes. So maybe a little bit is okay, but if you can get away with Mrs. Dash, that whole line, and then there's other no salt added seasonings, all of those are really, they're salt free, and all those herbs that are in there, those herbs and spices, they actually, some people call them like little salads because they have so much power and they can do different things for you. So like oregano, basil, they've found that is kind of like ibuprofen. And so things like that is just kind of cool, like the different benefits that they have. They have, the vitamins and minerals that things like lettuces do, just in really condensed form. So using those all the time when you can is excellent. Okay. And so just remembering then, like, as we're talking about these changes and things like that. So I got 1 week with you left, and then you guys get a 3-month break for me. But I just really, like, if there's anything I can do to help, please email me or just see if you can make some small changes. I would say exercise would be a huge one. Just trying to do it more. It allows you to eat the things that you love, and just be able to keep that blood sugar in check. And also, if you can work on like the foods that you eat at the same time, that would be excellent. But really kind of keeping those carbs throughout the day so you're not having like bombarding your body all at once, that's really important. And trying to choose the whole grain versions when you can, that's the other thing, because that'll help your body. Actually, they found that people who have more whole grains, they're less likely to have heart disease and less likely to have diabetes. So things like that, they're really good, besides just having fiber. Okay. Yes, and you do need a little salt. Most people definitely get way more than they need. I think it's like 4,000 or something like that, 3,400 milligrams of salt. So then the most that we need, that I'm not 100% sure, but I do know they recommend for all African Americans and people who have high, for older Americans also, people who have heart problems, just they recommend 1,500 or less. So just even if you can aim for that, then that would be good. And then iodine, they have been finding that sometimes people are starting to get more lack of iodine, which is actually found in salt because it's not found in sea salts usually, or in those like those pink Himalayan salts and things like that. So just if you are going to choose salt, you know, just I guess checking for the iodine. There's so many things to think about there, isn't there?
Yeah, iodine, nice salt, like a special one.
You have one?
No, they have one at like Publix and.
Okay, he was just saying they have, yeah, so just even buying the normal salt would have iodine, normal as in being just like the Morton's. They fortify it with that, so I'm kind of making, you guys are like, what? So then here's our inning slide, but just, I guess, does anybody have any questions on this stuff? What do you think? Otherwise, we'll go to the other food demo. And I do have just a couple, I was just going to show you slides that I made, just, you know, like to get ideas quick, just to reduce sugar. One way to do that is you can usually in your recipes, you can use 1/3 less sugar without even noticing. So just thinking about that when you're making desserts and things like that. And then replacing canned fruit with that has syrup with fruit packed in water, so that can really reduce your sugar. And then also adding cinnamon and vanilla and almond extract, they all kind of trick your mouth into thinking there's more sugar in there because they have that sweeter taste, even though those are all calorie free, and cinnamon can really help with diabetes also and managing your blood sugar levels. So if you like any of those, the cinnamon especially, I would say put it in everything. That can really help. And then to add fiber, so that would help slow your blood sugar. So you can use brown rice instead of white rice, or, you know, like quinoa, something like that would even have more fiber than the brown rice, but using whole grain pasta instead of regular, and then substituting up to 1/2 of the all-purpose flour with 100% whole wheat flour. So if you're making something like cookies, you know, sometimes you can add some whole wheat flour in there, and especially the white whole wheat flour. So there's 100% white whole wheat flour, and that is actually a whole wheat flour, but it's made from white wheat. So it looks whiter and it is fluffier. So I think that is one of my favorite products in the grocery store, just because you can use whole wheat flour then and kind of make it more like a white flour product. And then using whole oats and adding those to fruits, cookies, muffins, waffles, pancakes, all those things. Then adding beans, tons of fiber in those, and the protein. They do have some carbs too, but adding those to soups and casseroles and salads. Just to keep in mind, people who eat more beans, they tend to have better managed glucose levels, even though they do have some. So that is that. And then like we talked about the reducing salt, omitting, or like, you know, just trying to reduce it by half, replacing some of it with herbs and spices, and using then fresh or frozen foods, because usually those don't have the sodium that the can does. But you can also get no salt added canned things, so that is very nice. And bleached flour, so that would be the white flour then, where they bleach it. But I'm talking about it's called 100% white whole wheat flour, so it just has white on it. And King Arthur, I believe, sells it. But anyway, it's a really good thing if you haven't tried it. I'm a fan. So okay, so let's stop that, and I will stop sharing that. All right. So close, you guys, sorry. All right, let's see here. Okay, we'll just quick do the other food demo. Let's see how that chicken turned out. All right, you got it, Caleb? I love it. Thanks, he's helping me again. Okay, so here we kind of have the chicken. I'll try to see if you can see it, but it's crusted nicely. Let me see if I can get one for you and kind of show. So it'd be a really good way to do like a chicken parmesan. It's hard to see with the screen of it. But it is nicely coated with some on the bottom there. And what I was thinking, you know, I was thinking we would have this class in person. So what I bought some cooking tomato sauce, excuse me. And so just thinking we could drizzle that on there. I like this one a lot because it doesn't have that much sugar. It's included less than 1 gram of added sugar, and the carbohydrate in there is 8 grams. So this is a pretty good choice. And so it'd be one of the, like a half cup would be equal to half of an exchange of like half of a piece of bread, I guess. Thinking about that then. Because some of the tomato sauces have a lot more. So there, okay. You back it up like a little bit. That'd be great. Thank you so much. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna make then is the 4-bean salad. So what we have here, bowl. Let's see here. Get out everything we need. So here's our dressing bowl. Back it up just a little bit. Yes, thank you. Okay, so we have the dressing bowl and then the bean bowl. So we're gonna put in lima beans, kidney beans, and so what these are all drained and rinsed. And then we have green beans. And then these are called wax beans. So mind backing up a little bit. Sorry, it's like thank you. Okay, so then just the wax beans there. They're actually green beans without the chlorophyll. So they taste very similar, but they kind of give it a pretty hue. So then we have some onion. So we have it in rings. Having trouble talking today if you haven't noticed. Okay, so then we also have some green pepper. So we're going to add that in there. Celery. And we have some black pepper. Garlic. So that's equal to about 1 clove. Put that in there. Okay, so then for our dressing, we will use Dijon mustard. It's about 2 teaspoons. So 1 teaspoon is about equal to your thumb tip. I'm just gonna put some in there, about 2 of those. It's kind of fun with the dressing, so you don't maybe have to be quite as precise. Okay, and then we need 2 tablespoons of cider vinegar. And so we have that. And then we also put in a dash of sugar, so that it called for 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, and we just ended up putting in a small amount of a stevia packet. So kind of knowing what we were like in there. Okay, so we have the Dijon mustard, cider vinegar, and then we also have thyme. So I have fresh thyme here. And so we could have used dried thyme and used less, but we ended up using 1 teaspoon of fresh. So just to chop thyme, let me grab that. Thanks. So just if you ever buy thyme or things like that, so we were gonna get the dried, but really it looked really good in the fresh. So you can just take it, use the same way as rosemary, and you can just go opposite way that it's growing, and then you can kind of just, as you can see, it just kind of falls off. So just scraping it the opposite way that it's growing, and then you can take this, put this on a cutting board, and chop it then. So just putting this there, mixing this, and then we're gonna add in 1/4 cup olive oil. So stirring that in. You have a 1/4 cup more. Yeah, that's all we need. Okay. Let's make sure, double check myself. 1/4, yeah. So just put it in a slow, steady stream then. Just add that in there. All right. And then, I don't know if you can see this, but we have the bean mixture. And we're just gonna pour in the dressing then. It smells really good. So thyme, yeah. I looked up, so if you look up health benefits of thyme, there are quite a number. So very good for you. It has those antioxidants, the anti-inflammatory, antiviral, things like that can help keep you well. So then here, like it'd be a good like potluck or something, but it's a 4-bean salad. So you can see that. And that's all we have, I'm thinking. So I guess I would love to hear in the chat box if you think the mic is helpful or not. I don't know for those of you who had been in the class before, if you notice a difference or not using it. That's that. And then also if you have any questions, and then maybe just wanted to keep in mind that the November 16th is the date we want. And then I would need an A1C after the 4th class before you do the follow-up class. Then there'd be one, like if you could get your A1C checked so we could have a before, like the one that you put on the survey, and then like the very, very last class, we'd have another one in between there just to see if there's a difference. So just trying to see how we could help and how to make the class better. So does anybody have a much more consistent? You guys like it better? So anti-inflammatory foods, luckily, if you're asking what they are, so those would be things like, it's really nice because they happen to be the healthier foods for us. So it's like kind of what you would think would be anti-inflammatory foods. So they found that, you know, sugar, extra sugar can be inflammatory, and saturated fats. So the things like olive oil and walnuts and avocados and fruits and vegetables, those would be the anti-inflammatory ones. And thinking about just baking foods instead of frying and things like that. But the anti-inflammatory, definitely the fatty fish, like the nuts and the seeds and fruits and vegetables. So if there's anything else, we did pretty well on time, I think. We're okay. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I think we'll end it then if nobody has any other questions. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming. I hope you come next week too. Really appreciate you sticking with us. All right. Bye, you guys.